Colorado's high-definition news leader. This is News Channel 13, where the news comes first.
Massive smoke plumes rose from the Drake Power Plant this morning. A fire at the plant is sparking fears and caused outages across the city. We have team coverage on this breaking news. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm John Carroll.
And I'm Brittany Bailey. We want to get straight back to that breaking news. A fire is burning at the Drake Power Plant near downtown Colorado Springs.
The power plant is in the 700 block of Conejo Street. Right now, there's a voluntary evacuation for people within a 3-block radius of the plant. Many of the streets around the area are also closed. KRDO News Channel 13's Bonnie Silkman joins us live now with the latest. Good afternoon, Bonnie.
Good afternoon, John and Brittany. Now, smoke from the fire has now cleared, and we're told the fire is now under control. But this started as a very scary situation when a large plume of black smoke was right over the power plant here. If you're in Colorado Springs, it was very hard to miss, and again, a very scary situation. Now, all employees were evacuated. Everyone is safe and accounted for. Emergency teams are here investigating, trying to figure out what started this fire. And I don't know how well you can see it, but actually in the southeast corner of the power plant, that's where the fire first began, from inside of the building. We're told there's actually offices in that area, but again, how the fire started is still unknown. Now, every couple of seconds you hear a loud sound. That's bursts of steam coming from the pressure release valves. That's because the inside of the power plant is really hot, so they're trying to cool out and release all of that pressure from inside the power plant. Now, Colorado Springs Utilities got a call about the fire just before 10 this morning. When we first got here, like I said, there was a large black plume of smoke, and it was very hard to miss. Now, we spoke with the Colorado Springs Utilities, and they tell us they have emergency teams inside investigating what started this fire.
When it's safe to go inside, we'll obviously go in with the appropriate crews and safety in mind, and we'll take a look and see what's going on. I don't know how long that could take at this point.
Now, this plant, we are told, powers about 85% of Colorado Springs' electricity. Over 21,000 people lost power, but all that was restored by 10:15 this morning. Now, if you're driving around in Colorado Springs, you're really going to want to try to avoid this area. There is a volunteer evacuation radius of 3 blocks in this area, so just try to avoid this part of town. We'll, of course, keep you updated as soon as we learn more about this fire and what started it. But for now, reporting live in Colorado Springs, Bonnie Silkman, KRDO News Channel 13.
Bonnie, thank you. An evacuation shelter has been set up at the Red Cross on 8th Street.
KRDO News Channel 13's Olivia Wilmson is checking in with the evacuees, and she also spoke to workers from the power plant who were shaken up this afternoon. She joins us now with team coverage. Good afternoon, Olivia.
Good afternoon, Brittany and John. Here at the Red Cross on South 8th Street, they are welcoming evacuees. Like you said, a 3-block radius of homes and businesses around the power plant were evacuated. Colorado Springs Utilities told me earlier that all of the workers did evacuate the power plant. I did speak with someone who was inside the power plant when the fire started. Let's go to video and show you what it looked like. A witness told me that firefighters put that fire out very quickly. The smoke got out of there fairly fast, within minutes, she says. You can see the firefighters were working on top of the roof trying to put out any remaining flames. I talked to a scaffolding builder who was inside when he heard an explosion.
Yeah, my adrenaline was going, definitely. You go from just working to all of a sudden, I mean, it was within 5 seconds, boom, and that whole plant was full of smoke.
He said he was able to safely get down the scaffolding with the rest of his crew and get out of there safely. They did have all of the workers there get out and get away from the building several blocks away. Now, as we said, the Red Cross here on South 8th Street is welcoming anyone who wants to use this as an evacuation center for water, food, whatever you need. You can come here. Reporting live in Colorado Springs, Olivia Wilmson, KRDO News Channel 13.
Thanks, Olivia. Many of you have been sharing your video of the fire. This comes to us from Doris Wall. And you can see just how thick and black that smoke was when this fire broke out.
We also want to show you some of the photos we've received from you. Again, they show just how massive that smoke plume was rising above Colorado Springs there. Thank you to Casey Kwilicki and Linda Marie Fowler for sending in those photos. We do have a slideshow of more viewer photos set up at KRDO.com. Well, because of this fire, Colorado Springs police are on accident alert, so they can direct more officers to help. That means if you're in an accident and there are no serious injuries and drugs and alcohol are not involved, you don't have to call police. You can file an accident report within 72 hours of that accident. And now we're going to send things over to Storm Tracker 13 meteorologist Marty Vinicinque for more on your weather on this Monday afternoon. Coming off a beautiful weekend, Marty.
Yeah, partly cloudy. It was obviously a bit windy yesterday. It hasn't been bad today as far as the wind is concerned. And it's still nice and warm outside. We're in the lower 60s now in Woodland Park, 62 at last check at the Greater Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center. You see the wind there is benign. It's less than 10 miles an hour. And it's been that way in most of Colorado Springs so far today. We're closing in on 80 degrees already at Muggenbug Pest Control. You can see, though, we have some clouds overhead. And, of course, we had them yesterday, so I guess it's not unusual for us, but it's a little shady. 83 at last check, Pueblo Chieftain Studio. Again, nice calm wind. Always nice to be able to report that. We do think that that's going to change, especially tomorrow. We'll get through the afternoon with just some light breezy conditions. We'll end up in the 80s in both Colorado Springs and Pueblo with 70s and 80s even through dinner time. So really nice warm day. As the wind picks up, we'll have more concerns about fire weather. Already issuing some warnings for that, and we'll talk more about that in our main weather segment. John and Brittany, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Marty. Well, the suspect in a deadly shooting in Security is expected to be charged today. The shooting happened Saturday around 2 in the afternoon in a home on Main Street near the intersection of Dahlia Drive.
The El Paso County Sheriff's Office says 59-year-old Michael Mallory was arrested in connection to the shooting. He faces charges of first-degree murder. Investigators found a man dead in the home. They have not identified the victim or said much about how the shooting happened. A neighbor says the suspect was known in the neighborhood but was out of the ordinary. People are expected to release more details about the shooting. Police, that is, expected to release more details about the shooting, including the identity of the victim, and that will come from El Paso County Sheriff's deputies. A bear who killed several chickens in Rock Rimmon has been caught. New at noon, the bear was caught in a trap off Tudor Road. Tracy Goss shared this photo with us. Parks and Wildlife officials say the bear is a male and about a year and a half old. Because it has been aggressive, they have decided to put it down. A Colorado woman survived and is now recovering after being stranded in her car for 5 days. Police say Kristen Hopkins was stranded after crashing her car below US 285 near Fairplay. Here's a look at what's left of her damaged car. The car was not within the view of drivers, but a hiker saw her and called for help. When rescuers reached her, she was conscious and coherent. She was flown to a Denver hospital where she's in critical condition. But State Patrol says they are surprised that she was able to survive.
The crash alone would have taken its toll on her. It's surprising that she survived the crash at all, and then to be down there for that amount of days without your food and water, yeah, absolutely.
Police say Hopkins' car went airborne 120 feet off the highway and rolled another 250 feet, landing on its roof.
The city of Denver decided to get creative with new signs in the city's Washington Park. The signs alert visitors to the new alcohol rules. One side reads, quote, "If drinking beer was an Olympic competition, we'd be the East German judge. 3.2% only, please, no glass," end quote. The council had considered eliminating beer for the park, but decided on these new rules instead. Drivers in Colorado Springs may want to try to avoid I-25 if you don't want to get into a crash. That's according to a study done by Springs Police. The Colorado Springs Gazette reports that police analyzed crash data from 2009 through 2013. Officers looked at trends and patterns in those crashes. They found I-25 in Woodman had the most crashes, followed by I-25 in South Nevada, I-25 in West Cimarron, West Garden of the Gods, and West Fillmore round out the top 5. The report also showed that distracted drivers were the #1 cause of accidents last year.
The Pueblo City Council will be discussing memorials along roadsides at its meeting tonight. After a deadly accident, family and friends often put up flowers and memorabilia near the crash site. Our partners at the Pueblo Chieftain report the City Council wants to develop a more formal way for families to set up memorials. It's one of the issues being discussed at tonight's meetings in council chambers at 5:30. People living in Black Forest are missing ballots. At least 400 ballots were not delivered to Black Forest voters for Tuesday's special district election. Today, the Black Forest Fire Department tweeted out to voters saying, if you didn't get a ballot, you can pick one up at Fire Station 1 on Teach Out Road or email election@bffire.org. There are 7,000 people who are eligible to vote. So far, 5% of ballots did not make it through the mail to voters. People will still be able to cast ballots until 7 p.m. tomorrow. One neighbor says he's still worried.
Well, it's pretty sad after what happened that they aren't going to get to vote probably because they have to vote by tomorrow. And if they didn't know about it, unless they've got time tomorrow to go do that, they're just out of luck.
The U.S. Postal Service says the missing ballots were not sent by first-class mail and would have made it to the right people if they had been. 2 students in Pueblo received the surprise of a lifetime this morning. It's new on 13. A helicopter landed at Belmont Elementary School. Inside the helicopter was Major Kevin Lindsay, who's been stationed in North Carolina. 2 of his sons go to school at Belmont. They tell us at first they had no idea who was in the helicopter, but there you see a happy reunion for a father and his 2 sons.
I'm not allowed to look at those. I'll cry throughout the rest of the newscast. Well, the Supreme Court has ruled that prayers that open town council meetings do not violate the Constitution, even if they routinely stress Christianity. In a 5-4 decision today, the justices ruled the content of the prayers is not critical as long as officials make a good faith effort at inclusion. The ruling is a victory for the New York town of Greece. A federal appeals court had ruled that the town outside Rochester violated the Constitution by opening nearly every meeting over an 11-year span with prayers that stressed Christianity. Well, what do you think about the Supreme Court upholding a decision to allow prayer at town council meetings? You can leave your comment at KRDO.com or on Facebook or Twitter at KRDO News Channel 13. The Target data breach has claimed another victim coming up. We'll tell you what action the company's CEO is taking after hackers stole customers' credit and debit card info.
A popular sports drink is removing one of its ingredients, but we don't expect it to ignite much controversy.
And later, we want you to remember another good reason for getting a good night's sleep.
We're in the 70s and 80s right now. Speaking of good night's sleep, I haven't opened the windows the last couple of nights. Cool it down a little bit. Feel like summer out there. We'll let you know how long it's going to last.
Stopping your economy tracker after an early plunge. The Dow is slowly coming back up. It's almost reached zero. You see just a fraction under. NASDAQ is up 3. The S&P 500 up now about a half point. After that massive data breach at Target, the CEO of the company announced today he is stepping down.
New at noon, Greg Steinhafel has stepped down as the company's chairman and resigned from its board of directors. He'll serve an advisory role as the company transitions. The current chief financial officer, John Mulligan, has been appointed an interim president and CEO. Back in December, hackers stole credit and debit card information from tens of millions of customers. Powerade says it is removing a controversial ingredient from its drinks. Brominated vegetable oil is linked to a flame retardant. It's not been approved for use in Japan or the European Union. A Mississippi teenager started a petition on change.org to get the ingredient out of sports drinks. Gatorade removed the ingredient from its drinks last year. Well, this New York City icon will soon be on billboards. The Times Square Naked Cowboy will be featured in Fruit of the Loom's new campaign for boxer briefs. Robert Burke has been playing his guitar for years, wearing only tighty-whities, cowboy boots, and a hat. The marketing campaign starts tomorrow. Boy, what you do for fame these days, right? But everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, he's an icon, that's
He
for sure.
is. Well, today is Cinco de Mayo, a time of celebration for many, but a price hike may put a damper on some people's party plans.
Later, we're tracking new information on a deadly wildfire burning in central Oklahoma.
We've managed to keep the wind down today, but tomorrow we think it'll pick up again. And as it does, fire weather will be a concern here too. Red flag warnings already been issued for much of southeastern Colorado for tomorrow. 7-day forecast is coming up next.
Welcome back to News Channel 13 at noon. Again, we're tracking breaking news. A fire broke out at the Martin Drake Power Plant in downtown Colorado Springs this morning. Fire is under control. The plant was evacuated. Everybody's safe. But it is affecting some traffic in the area. Here's a live look at I-25 and Cimarron. Things are moving along well, but get off of the interstate there, and Cimarron is blocked off over to Cascade and about a 3-block area around the Drake Power Plant. People have been voluntarily asked to evacuate and just generally stay out of the area while firefighters and law enforcement finished their work there at the power plant. But Marty, one thing we can see there is just a beautiful sunny day, warm temperatures too. We went right to summer, I guess.
Well, no big surprise, I suppose. Most people I run into in the street figured that was going to happen. We'll go right from winter to summer and forget spring. What we don't have today, too much of anyway, is wind. And that's been true in most of the areas that we've checked out around the neighborhood weather network. Light breeze, 10 to 15 miles an hour, has been about as high as we've seen. It's 56 degrees even up at the Century Casino right now. We have a few clouds floating around that are trying to knock out the sun a little bit. There's a good view of them from overhead door near Powers and Galley, but we're in the mid-70s. They're 77 actually right now. Again, I can't say there's no wind. It's not terribly strong, running around 15 miles an hour. It's lighter than that currently in Pueblo West. We're closing in on 80 degrees at Parkview's new emergency services building. You see the clouds along the Arkansas River are a little bit thinner than what we've seen for areas a little bit farther to the north. Skycast shows clouds, by the way, off and on through the evening hours, and we'll likely have them into tonight as well. The wind tonight shouldn't be terribly strong. Again, we might have a 5 to 15 mile an hour breeze coming off the mountains. I know last night for some of you the wind was roaring pretty hard. I don't think we'll have a repeat of that tonight. Should be a mild night, by the way. Lows in the 40s to around 50, and much of eastern Colorado, 30s should do it for the high country and for the big mountain valleys. Tomorrow, though, we do think that wind's going to pick up just about anywhere in southeastern Colorado, and that's the reason for the red flag warning, because we still expect a lot of sunshine, very dry conditions, and temperatures that, once again, are likely to get back up into the 80s in much of eastern Colorado. In fact, as you get out in the eastern part of the state, we might be darn close to 90 degrees. Well, we'll expect 70s and 80s along the interstate, with 50s for the high mountain areas, 60s and 70s for our local mountain areas, and for the big mountain valleys. Could have occasional wind gusts tomorrow afternoon up over 30 miles an hour. And we should remain windy on Wednesday as the next system starts to approach the area. Could kick off a shower, a little thunder late in the day over northern parts of our coverage area. Then Thursday looks a good bit cooler. Right now it would appear the vast majority of the rain with this system is going to pass into northeastern Colorado, where some of it could be in the form of some strong thunderstorms. But we'll have to track the southern boundary of that low-level moisture very closely, because if it slips in, then we could see a better chance for some stronger storms locally. Head into the weekend, looks okay. It won't be quite as warm as we've been recently, but we'll be in the upper 60s to around 70 Saturday and Sunday. Couldn't rule out an afternoon shower on Sunday, but it certainly doesn't appear to be the type of thing that would wreck your weekend. Pueblo, another day of 80s tomorrow, then 70s on Wednesday, 60s for the end of the week. Could see a few showers around on Thursday, but as I mentioned, most of it's going north of the area, so Pueblo, I think your chances are probably even lesser than for many of the rest of us around Colorado Springs and northward to pick up any showers. But we'll leave them in there just in case that thing slips a little farther south than expected. Canyon City, a couple of days of 70s coming up. We'll wrap up the week in the 60s. See about a couple of showers maybe Thursday. Weekend looks okay. Highs up around 70 or so on Saturday. Maybe a little warmer on Sunday and Monday. And in Teller County, we'll expect your high temperatures to fall from the 60s through the 50s and maybe into the upper 40s on Thursday. And we'll see about maybe Thursday night and Friday. Mixture of some raindrops or a couple of snowflakes as that system cruises by to our north. We don't get too excited about snow at this point. But, you know, it's always an interesting thing to show you on a weather map. Get into May and we're talking about 80-degree warmth, and we still throw some snowflakes up there every once in a while.
It wouldn't be Colorado without it.
No, it's not unusual even into June, as many of you are aware.
And Rachel shared with us this morning her adventure in the Spartan race yesterday at Fort Carson. You had a great time too, it sounds like.
I did. I'm very sore. It probably will be for a few days, but it was a lot of fun. And outside of ingesting a lot of dust, I think that was the only real complaint, to deal with the mud. But the wind was really blowing pretty good yesterday in the afternoon. That dust is hard to breathe at, especially when you're breathing heavy.
And you did every obstacle, no burpees.
I did, yeah.
Impressive.
Way to go, Marty.
I know.
Why I'm so sore.
Well, it was a rough ride in the unfriendly skies. Frightened passengers are describing what it was like on board a U.S. Airways flight that ran into severe turbulence. Welcome back, everyone. It was a horrifying accident at a circus in Rhode Island. At least 3 performers are in critical condition.
Several others are also still hospitalized after a metal prop from which several acrobats were dangling came crashing to the ground in front of a stunned audience. ABC's Marcia Gonzalez is in Providence, Rhode Island, with the video that may be difficult for some to watch.
After the terrifying fall that sent at least 11 circus performers to the hospital, the lights staying dimmed at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence. All of the remaining shows here canceled as the performers undergo treatment for broken bones, cuts, and head trauma. It's still unclear what caused the metal rig suspending 8 acrobats about 30 feet high to collapse. sending the performers plummeting to the ground and onto a dancer below.
And at first we thought it was part of the show, and as soon as it hit the ground, I knew that it was not.
No net to catch their fall, the metal platform the acrobats were hanging from landing on top of them.
You could tell the crane was heavy because it took 10 guys, and you could see them struggling to lift it from on top of the girls. And it was unbelievable.
This was part of an act called the Human Chandelier. The Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus advertising it as the only performance of its kind in the world.
We're about innovation and high art, and this year, for the first time ever, we have the Human Chandelier. This is 8 beautiful young ladies hanging suspended in the air by their hairs.
Federal investigators from OSHA now working with police and circus officials to figure out what went wrong.
We are doing absolutely everything to determine what happened yesterday for this unfortunate accident and everything that we can do in the future to make sure it never happens again.
And the circus is scheduled to reopen Thursday night in Hartford, Connecticut. But a spokesperson tells us in light of this accident, they're still deciding if the shows there will include aerial performances. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Providence, Rhode Island.
Now that show is scheduled to come to the World Arena in Colorado Springs this June. We've contacted show officials who tell us there are no plans to cancel those shows.
A massive fire broke out at the Drake Power Plant in Colorado Springs today. You're taking a live look now at the plant. Fire crews are working to make sure the area is safe. We will have team coverage coming up.
The Oscar Pistorius murder trial has resumed with a show of support by a friend of the Blade Runner.
From Southern Colorado's high-definition news leader, this is News Channel 13, where the news comes first.
Welcome back to KRDO News Channel 13 at noon, everyone. I'm John Carroll.
And I'm Brittany Bailey. We want to get right to the breaking news this afternoon. A fire at the Drake Power Plant caused a lot of problems in downtown Colorado Springs today.
Now, the power plant is on the 700 block of Conejo Street. Right now, there's a voluntary evacuation for people within a 3-block radius of the plant. Many of the streets around that area are also closed.
KRDO News Channel 13's Bonnie Silkman joins us live with the latest information. Good afternoon, Bonnie.
Good afternoon, Brittany and John. Now, the smoke from the fire has cleared. We were told that the fire has been contained. Now, all employees were evacuated and are safe. But this started as a very scary sight and a very scary situation. Now, there was a large, thick black plume of smoke over the power plant here. And emergency teams are now here investigating, trying to figure out what started this fire. I don't know how well you can see, but it actually started in that southeast corner of the plant on the lower floor. It started from inside that area, but again, we don't yet know how it started. Now, every couple of seconds, you might hear this loud sound. That's a burst of steam, and those are coming from the pressure release valves. Inside of the power plant right now, it's very hot and lots of pressure, and it's a very dangerous situation, so they're trying to cool that down. Now, when we first got here, there were large, thick black plumes of smoke, and Colorado Springs Utilities got a call about this fire just before 10 o'clock this morning. We spoke with one man who was here just outside of the plant when it all happened.
And smoke started coming out of this corner of the building. And then a great big discharge come out of this one area, and orange-colored exhaust billowed up in the air about 150 feet high, a big plume.
Now, this plant powers about 85% of Colorado Springs electricity. Over 21,000 people did lose power, but all of that was restored by 10:15 this morning. Now, if you're driving in Colorado Springs, you're going to want to try to avoid this area near the power plant. 3 blocks within the radius of the power plant are being evacuated, and the streets have been blocked off. So again, you're going to want to avoid that area. We'll, of course, keep you updated throughout the day about how this fire started as soon as we learn more. For now, reporting live in Colorado Springs, Bonnie Silkman, KRDO News Channel 13.
Bonnie, thank you. An evacuation shelter has been set up at 1049 South 8th Street. The fire has shaken up many of the workers who were at the power plant.
KRDO News Channel 13's Olivia Wilmson is checking in with those evacuees and joins us now live from the Red Cross shelter that's been set up. Good afternoon, Olivia.
Good afternoon, Brittany and John. Well, there's been 4 evacuees who have come here since we talked to you last. They've got a couple of pets with them as well, and they were telling the Red Cross that they were asked to be evacuated. I have Bill Fortune here with the Red Cross with me. Bill, tell us what you know.
Well, basically, since they set up an evacuation area around the plant, we've opened up our shelter here, or our evacuation center, for people that just might need a place to go for the afternoon until they're allowed back in their homes.
And you have food and water and whatever they need?
Yeah, basically just the things that they might need. It's cool in there. They can get out of the weather. They can have some water and some snacks.
Yeah, and of course this is really important for many of the people who weren't even working at the plant, but the people who just were working around it, or were just at home at the time.
Right. Well, and many of the people were still asleep. I mean, it was 9 in the morning or so, and so they were kind of woken up by the idea that they have to leave. So fortunately, we've got the place open, and there's a place for people to go and stay and make the best of a tough situation.
And of course, if this evacuation lasts late into the evening, you'll have to change plans?
Well, certainly we don't have overnight capabilities here, and so if we needed to do that, we could find another location where we could house people overnight if that's what the need was.
All right, thank you so much for joining us, Bill. We appreciate it. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio. Reporting live in Colorado Springs, Olivia Wilmson, KRDO News Channel 13.
Thanks, Olivia. Here you want to take a live look right now, I-25 and Cimarron. Traffic is moving fine along the interstate in this area, but due to the fire activity at the Drake Power Plant, the fire department has set up a boundary here that is bordered on the west by I-25, on the north at Cimarron, on the east at Cascade, and on the south at Las Vegas. And within that area, within those streets, there is a voluntary evacuation because of the fire at the Drake Power Plant and the ongoing efforts to make sure it's all out and being investigated. So Cimarron is closed underneath this stretch of the interstate to the east. Traffic, however, again, on I-25 is moving along just fine. Just in from the Salvation Army, it is deploying its emergency canteen truck to provide help to the Drake Power Plant. It will provide 100 meals and relief services for the emergency responders on the scene of today's fire.
Well, many of you have shared photos with us, and we do have a slideshow set up at KRDO.com where you can check out some of the photos of the large plume of smoke that rose from the Drake Power Plant this morning. And meanwhile, we are going to check in with Storm Tracker 13 meteorologist Marty Vinicique with more on our weather forecast on this Monday afternoon.
Real quiet this afternoon. Not enough wind force to be too concerned about fire danger. That'll change tomorrow. But in the meantime, we're just tracking some clouds, and it's been very warm. Temperatures are in the 70s and 80s around the area. Nationwide, a good chunk of the country is starting to warm up, and we still have a few showers over the northern Great Plains, up in the Midwest, and that's where the coolest air is right now. But you see on this national temperature map, it looks a lot different than it did last week. 70s and 80s have become very common over the southern half of the country. Still have 50s and 60s, though, hanging on over the northern tiers. So, trying not to let go just yet this cooler air from the winter. But obviously, we're starting to see the winning of the warmth here over the last couple of days. Overnight tonight, real nice, really. Partly cloudy, a mild night again. We'll have a little bit of a breeze. I don't think it'll be as windy as it was in some cases last night. But we'll have temperatures hovering in the 40s and 50s just about everywhere, even when you wake up tomorrow morning. So it's going to be a nice start to the day. Probably down to about 50. But again, tomorrow we think that wind is really going to start to crank up again, and you'll feel it. It'll be annoying, and it'll lead to fire weather concerns. And we'll talk more about that coming up next. John and Brittany, back to you.
Marty, thanks. The estranged wife of a triple murderer is speaking publicly for the first time about how she turned him in to law enforcement.
It turns out Harry Mapps' wife, Sandy Mapps, told U.S. Marshals exactly where he was last December, leading them to a motel in Oklahoma. Last week, Harry Mapps pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder. KRDO News Channel 13's Michelle San Miguel spoke exclusively with Mapps' wife and the loved ones still trying to heal from his actions.
Hey, it's Harry. We need to talk. Give me a call.
The message Sandy Mapps told investigators was left on her voicemail was the turning point. By that time, Harry Mapps had already been on the run for 31 days.
I was nervous because I had no idea for sure if he was still there or if he was headed back this way, because at that time we didn't know.
She then called U.S. Marshals and told them about the message she'd received. Just hours later, Harry Mapps was arrested at a motel in Roland, Oklahoma, in connection with the deaths of Kim and Reginald Tuttle and their daughter, Dawn Roderick, his longtime friends and roommates for the past 6 months.
It's hard to turn someone in that you've cared for so long, but I certainly didn't want to be an accessory to a crime. I knew that that was what was the right thing to do.
It didn't take like 10 years just to find him. It took a month and a day to find him. And I'm happy because he's put away for the rest of his life.
12-year-old Logan lost his mom and his grandparents last year, the day before Thanksgiving. He spoke before a packed courtroom last week about how his life has changed since his mother's murder, including moving to a new school.
I wanted Harry to know that he made me so angry that I'm afraid to talk to my only friends at that school now, that everyone else is just scared that I might lash out on them.
When they lost their mom, they lost not only their mom, their best friend, and their companion throughout this.
The Rodericks agree they can now begin to heal, knowing that Mapps will spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole.
They'll never forget their mom, but they'll be able to accept what has happened and not be so bitter toward everybody in life.
As for Sandy Mapps, she tells us she still cannot believe the man she married 15 years ago is now a convicted triple murderer.
I still find it very hard to believe, and when I see pictures of him now, he doesn't look the same. He doesn't, he's not the same person.
In Pueblo, Michelle San Miguel, KRDO, News Channel 13.
Sandy Mapps tells us she wanted to wait to tell people that she turned Harry Mapps into authorities because she's waiting to claim the reward money. Pueblo police are searching for two women they say robbed a store this morning. It happened after 1 a.m. at the JR Country Store at the corner of Elizabeth and Eagle Ridge. Police say two women went into the store and one of them had a gun. They got away with cash. Anyone with information is asked to call Pueblo police.
The last of 4 men accused of laundering money from Colombia to buy a marijuana grow house in Denver wants out on bond. Gerardo Uribe was set to appear in federal court this morning. Last week, a judge granted bail to his brother, Mauricio Uribe, and Denver attorney David Furtado. Their dispensaries were targeted in the November raids on medical marijuana businesses. Hector Diaz, a Colombian man arrested during the raids, is also charged. He's free on bond.
The Colorado Springs Airport will be conducting an exercise this week as part of a mass casualty response practice. Looking ahead now, the two-part exercise will involve a crash site near the airport and patient processing at area hospitals. Now, it will happen between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. Crestera Parkway, south to Powers Boulevard, will be closed between 4 a.m. and 1 p.m.
A wildfire burning in Oklahoma has already killed 1 person and destroyed at least 6 homes. The fire is forcing hundreds more to evacuate. Weather's not helping. Winds are gusting at more than 30 miles an hour, and the temperature is expected to hit 100 degrees there today. As many as 150 homes are in the fire's path in Guthrie. It all started as a controlled burn that quickly got out of control.
It's amazing how fast this fire spread. By the time we got down here, we were afraid we weren't going to be able to come home.
The fire is about 75% contained. Around 1,000 people were evacuated from their homes yesterday. The Red Cross has set up a shelter at a church for those affected. 260 people are now confirmed dead after the South Korea ferry disaster. More than 100 divers are searching room by room inside the sunken ferry. Today they recovered another 12 bodies, but dozens of people are still missing. No one has been found alive since the ferry sank on April 16th. Most of the passengers were high school students on a field trip to a resort island. Divers have had problems with the search because of poor visibility and closed cabin doors blocked by debris.
A neighbor and friend of Oscar Pistorius took the stand today in the Olympian's murder trial. The neighbor testified that the athlete was torn apart and was desperately trying to save Reva Steenkamp after she was fatally shot last year. Court was back in session today after a 2-week recess. Defense lawyers are trying to describe a scene of desperate panic after the shooting, which they say was an accident. Prosecutors say Pistorius shot Steenkamp deliberately after an argument.
Passengers and crew aboard a Delta Airlines plane this weekend got a bit of a scare. The flight from Atlanta to L.A. had to make an emergency landing Saturday after the cockpit windshield cracked. The plane landed safely in Albuquerque. The pilot reportedly told passengers That pressure caused the cockpit windshield to arch, bubble, and shatter. The plane did not lose pressure, and no one was hurt. 6 people were hurt after a plane headed to Florida ran into major turbulence.
The U.S. Airways passengers say they feared the plane was going down. It was forced to turn back to Philadelphia yesterday after hitting turbulence. Of the 6 people hurt, 2 were crew members. 5 went to the hospital.
Shoes were flying, cell phones were flying, people were screaming, and it was very, very, very scary.
Passengers say the drop in altitude came out of nowhere. One described seeing a woman fly out of her seat, and you see that photo. It shows cracks in an overhead compartment after a passenger crashed into it. The FAA is investigating.
The search for the missing Malaysia Airlines plane is changing course. Flight crews have logged more than 300,000 hours searching from the air. Australia's Deputy Prime Minister, Warren Truss, says crews are moving into a new phase of the search.
We have committed ourselves to an ongoing, continuous effort. But the operation must now enter a new phase and will be focused on intensifying the ocean floor search over a much larger area.
Flight 370 disappeared on March 8th with 239 people on board. The next phase of the search is expected to cost $60 million.
One of the 3 women held captive for nearly a decade in a Cleveland house before escaping last year says she forgives the man who kidnapped and tortured her all those years.
Michelle Knight says Ariel Castro deserves forgiveness because she'd want to be forgiven if she did wrong. She spoke to Anderson Cooper about what it was like when she was first taken.
What happens is hard at first. You don't really want to adapt to it. You don't want to comply. You don't want to do anything at first. But then you find yourself saying, why not? I'm here. Just let them get it over with. So you slowly end up saying, okay, whatever. Just do it.
Tomorrow marks 1 year since Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina DeJesus escaped. Castro pleaded guilty in August and committed suicide in prison.
It is intended to wish fishermen a safe trip and much success.
But this year, one traditional Japanese festival brought people together for another reason.
Welcome back, everyone. We are tracking breaking news this afternoon. You are taking a live look now at the Drake Power Plant in downtown Colorado Springs. This morning, a fire broke out there. It happened about 9:30. Now, a voluntary evacuation is in place for a 3-block radius around the plant, and an evacuation shelter has been set up at the Red Cross on 8th Street. If you do want to and need to evacuate from your home or business, you can go there to the Red Cross on 8th Street. And Olivia Wilson reported earlier that even some folks are bringing their pets. So again, anything you may need, 8th Street, Red Cross is where you can go this afternoon. In the meantime, we're going to check in on our weather forecast with Storm Tracker 13 meteorologist Marty Vinichinque.
Yeah, much more positive news on the weather front, obviously. It's very nice outside today. It's been a little breezy in a few spots. We have a few clouds around, but it's warm, and the wind isn't so strong as to cause too much trouble. 73 right now. Bourbon Brothers Southern Kitchen. You can see a few of the high clouds that are floating across the Pikes Peak region. Nice calm wind there. It's pretty light in Pueblo, too. 86 degrees at Parkview Medical Center already. So feeling a little bit summer-like out there across the Arkansas River. We're in the mid-70s in Walsenburg. Looks pretty nice there at the Colorado State Veterans Nursing Home. A little breezy, west wind at about 11 miles an hour. We've seen a few spots where it gets up to 15 and maybe gusts close to 20. And that should probably do it for the remainder of the afternoon as far as the wind is concerned. Skycast shows we're also going to have a few clouds floating around here and there and probably filtering out the sun. I mean, obviously, we're already seeing some of that now. We should then notice that start to break up overnight tonight, leaving us with a really nice night. Last night, I know for many of you, it got pretty darn windy for a while. I don't think we'll have as much of that around tonight. And so as you wake up tomorrow morning, expect calm conditions, a good bit of sunshine, and temperatures that really shouldn't have dropped much out of the 40s to lower 50s in much of eastern Colorado. 30s should do it for the high country and for the big mountain valleys. Looks plenty warm tomorrow, so really pretty similar to today, except that we think the wind is going to pick up more. So by tomorrow afternoon, with some gusts up around 30 miles an hour, we do think conditions will become favorable for the spread of wildfires, and so red flag warnings are up for all of southeastern Colorado tomorrow. Highs along the Front Range in the 70s and 80s. On the eastern plains, mid to upper 80s. Get up into the high country, we'll see some 50s, and then 60s and 70s should do it for our local mountain areas as well as for some of the mountain valleys. We are expecting some cooler air to eventually move in. It will start to come in on Wednesday, and it might kick off a few showers. Doesn't look real cold, and we'll still be in the 70s. Thursday, we may dip back into the 50s, though. Right now, it still appears the majority of the showers and thunderstorms with this midweek system are going to pass just to our north and east. If the low-level moisture with that comes a little farther south, we could actually have some decent thunderstorms around here, so we'll be tracking that pretty closely. Looks a little quieter Friday and a Saturday. Couldn't rule out a quick shower Sunday afternoon. Weekend highs right around 70 degrees, so not quite as warm as what we have out there now, but still pretty nice. Pueblo after mid-80s tomorrow. How about mid-70s on Wednesday? Maybe only mid-60s on Thursday. If you're going to get some rain, Thursday might bring you your best chance at it, but even here we're talking about 10% coverage at best on the showers. More of it will happen farther north. Friday we start to warm up a little bit. Saturday and Sunday looks like mid-70s will be the way to go with some clouds around. Canyon City will have your temperatures fall from the 70s into the 60s as we move through the week. Again, Thursday appears to be the day most likely to bring you at least a couple of showers and maybe even a crack of thunder. Have you back in the 70s in time for the weekend. Mountain areas will fall from the 60s through the 50s, perhaps into the 40s by Thursday, and then Thursday night and Friday there could even be a few snowflakes if you're up high enough, mixing in with any showers that may develop. We're not worried about accumulating snow right now, by the way. We'll have you back into the 50s this weekend and might see a shower around Sunday afternoon, but most of the weekend looks okay.
I like the sound of that, Marty.
Yep.
Thanks, bud.
You're welcome.
Well, getting enough sleep is the key to good health, but a new study shows it may also be the key to a good memory.
A study focused on women, and researchers found that getting too much or too little sleep had an effect on memory. More memory problems were found among those who got less than 5 hours of sleep or more than 9 hours a night. The study shows a good night's sleep between 7 and 8 hours every night is the route to a healthy mind. It's May 5th, or Cinco de Mayo in Spanish. It's the biggest day for margarita sales in the U.S.
But you may be paying more for them this year. The price of limes has more than tripled in the past 2 months. We get about 97% of our limes from Mexico. But cartels and a crop disease is putting the squeeze on the lime supply. Prices are expected to go down when a new crop arrives.
And we'll have all your day's headlines at KRDO.com. You can find the latest on our breaking news. A live report from the Drake Power Plant is coming up next.
Welcome back, everyone. Firefighters are still on the scene of the Martin Drake Power Plant where a fire sparked this morning.
The power plant is in the 700 block of Conejos Street. Right now, there's a voluntary evacuation for people within a 3-block radius of the plant. Many streets around the area are also closed.
KRDO News Channel 13's Bonnie Silkman joins us live with the latest information. Good afternoon, Bonnie.
Good afternoon, Brittany and John. Now, the smoke from this fire has cleared, and we've been told that the fire has been contained. Now, all 62 employees that were inside working here at the plant were evacuated and are safe. Now, right now, emergency officials are inside investigating, trying to figure out what started this fire. We were told it started on the southeast corner of the building from inside of the power plant. But again, how the fire started is still unknown at this time. Now, Colorado Springs Utilities got a call about this fire just before 10 o'clock this morning. They also tell us that this plant is responsible for producing a third of the community's energy. Over 21,000 people lost power this morning, but it was all restored by 10:15. Now, if you're driving in Colorado Springs, you're going to want to try to avoid this area. It looks like they're starting to open up some roads around here, but there is an evacuation area within 3 blocks of the power plant. We'll, of course, keep you updated on this fire throughout the day. But for now, reporting live in Colorado Springs, Bonnie Silkman, KRDO News Channel 13.
Thanks so much, Bonnie. And coming up tonight at 4, we will hear from those evacuated due to this fire.
72 degrees right now up on the Palmer Divide. There's a view from Dutch Heritage Gardens. See a few high clouds around. The wind's not strong enough today for us to be terribly concerned about fire weather. No advisories for today, but red flag warnings have already been issued for much of the area for tomorrow. Pueblo's very warm, 86 degrees at the Pueblo Chieftain Studio. A little less cloud cover along the Arkansas River than what we're seeing in the Pikes Peak region, though obviously it's pretty nice everywhere right now. We will end up with partly cloudy conditions tonight, upper 40s. Tomorrow will be close to 80. Red flag warnings go up starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, lasting all day long. And then Wednesday, kind of a mixture of things going on. Obviously, we're still going to have a lot of wind. You can see the gusts right up around 30 miles an hour. But we might also have a couple of showers in the afternoon, and we should be cooling off a little bit as the next storm system starts to cross the state. Pueblo, you'll likely stay in the 50s for much of the night tonight. should hit mid-80s tomorrow, mid-70s on Wednesday. Again, plenty of wind, not so much today, but the next couple of days. And with that, fire weather concerns as well. So I mentioned the red flag warning for tomorrow. Fire weather watches are already up for Wednesday. It's this time of year we have to deal with this kind of stuff, unfortunately, but it's the way it looks the next couple of days.
All right, Marty, thanks.
Well, more than 3 years after the devastating tsunami in Japan, a traditional festival was back.
The Hitachi Otsu no Ofuna Festival takes place every 5 years to pray for a good catch and safety at sea. A wooden ship carrying a portable shrine was pulled through the city on Saturday. And it was all set to the tune of drummers and flute players. Hey, don't rock the boat.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
People lined up along the road to watch the event and also to pray for the area's recovery from the 2011 tsunami. So it's good to see that festival back there in the streets.
It looks like a fun party on top of everything.
It really does.
Yeah. Well, we will be back at 4 with the latest on the Drake Power Plant fire. Have a great afternoon, everyone.